So obviously there's a bunch of ways you can go about getting new clients for your social media marketing agency. You've probably watched a bunch of videos. You can either cold call, cold DM, cold email, looms. There's a bunch of stuff you can do. However, there's one technique that I believe to be the absolute best, but it's only good if you pair it up with two things. And these two things I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to focus more on the first one, and I might make a second video for the second part of making this technique even more effective. So for those who don't know me, I do own a couple of businesses, one of those being a social media marketing agency where I do Google ads. I'm not going to lie, like I don't have a crazy amount of clients. I do work with 4 clients. And I feel like that's a good cap for me, and I don't want to push it any further because, to be completely truthful, this is not something that I particularly enjoy doing, but it does pay. Like, you can make good money from it, and it's relatively easy if you do what I'm going to explain today in this video. So how did I get my first client? I truly believe there is no better way to get new clients than to cold call. Why? Because people are scared of talking on the phone. As simple as that. There's less competition. Everyone's super comfy behind their screen, sending DMs, sending emails. They'll send absolutely everything, but they're scared shitless to just make a phone call and to actually talk to a person over the phone. So by doing that, you're separating yourself from the competition. And also, I feel like people are more receptive when you actually talk with them on the phone and there's like a voice behind whatever they're trying to be pitched on. Because when you send a cold email, it's easy to just say, not interested, no, don't reply, like whatever. You know, people are actually having a conversation with you, and it's harder for them to just hang up on you and to completely ignore the message because you're having a conversation with this person. Now, I'm not going to talk about pitches because I think it doesn't really matter. I think people really put a huge emphasis on this is the best cold calling script. Like, if you don't do this, you will not succeed. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, you have a regular conversation, like it's just a person, have a conversation, explain what you're doing. And if they're interested, they're going to book a meeting with you. Simple as that. So cold calling is the best way. Earlier in the video, I talked about 2 aspects that you have to incorporate to actually make cold calling effective. The first one is volume. Okay. You can be absolute trash at cold calling, have the worst script, stutter, you can't really deliver a clear message on what you're trying to say, and people will still book meetings if you have enough volume. Now, obviously, the better you are, the less volume that is going to be required to sign new clients. But when you start, you're probably going to be trash, and it's normal. Like, I was super bad when I started. However, over time, you will get better, and the amount of volume you have to do will be greatly reduced. Now, I'm going to go through this game plan that I wrote about a year and a half ago when I started my agency, just to show you how stupid easy it is to get clients by cold calling. If you stay consistent, if you do it every day, it is stupid. There is no reason for you not to be able to make 10 grand a month. Absolutely no reason. Whether you're good, you're bad, like you will reach it if you follow this game plan I'm going to show right now. So let's look at the numbers, okay? So this is the exact game plan that I wrote about a year and a half ago, just to show you how stupid easy it is to reach 10 grand a month. Okay, all you need is volume and consistency. This is the only thing you need and you will succeed. Okay? And bear with me if me filming myself and filming the screen doesn't work because I am absolutely trash and I'm still learning, but I think I figured it out. So let's get going. Scenario number 1 is that you close 1 client out of 10 meetings. So it takes you 10 meetings to actually get a client. This is a scenario for people who are dog shit, which, I'm sorry to be frank, it's going to be most of you when you start. Which is normal. I was in that scenario when I started, okay? So everyone starts there, but eventually you'll get to scenario number 2. But for now, you're in scenario number 1. Goal is to make 10 grand a month in 12 months. I made a video. You have to think long term, okay? No more 10 grand in 1 month. That's not going to happen. So get that idea out of your head. It's going to take you 12 months, okay? So in 12 months, I want to make 10 grand a month. So you need 10 meetings to get 1 client. And let's say it takes you 100 cold calls for 1 meeting. Okay, not a client, a meeting. This is a very realistic number, and it's achievable if you have a good offer. The offer is very important. I'm not going to go in depth in the offer, but that is the second aspect of making cold calling effective. The better your offer, the easier it is going to be to close people. So 100 cold calls for 1 meeting. So that means if it takes you 10 meetings to get a client, you need 1,000 cold calls for 1 client. It seems a lot, but it's not that bad. The goal is 10 grand a month, so it's about 7 clients. So you need 7,000 cold calls to make 10 grand a month. But now our goal is to do this in a year, 12 months. And in a year, there are 250 working days. Okay? So if in a year I need 7 clients, which translates to 7,000 cold calls, and I have 250 days to do that, that means that I only need 28 calls per working day to reach the ultimate goal. Do you understand how easy and insane this is? 28 cold calls, that is absolutely nothing. So there's no excuse for you guys to not be able to sign enough clients to make 10 grand a month. All you need is 28 cold calls per work. It's not even the weekends. Like just Monday to Friday, if you make 28 cold calls every day, you will reach the goal. Remember, this is the dog shit scenario. This is the scenario that it takes you 10 meetings to get a client, which will not be the case. I'm telling you right away, will not be the case. So one thing that's important to keep in mind is that when you get started, what's most likely going to happen is that it's going to take you 500 cold calls to set first meeting. Okay? I know here I said it takes 100 calls for a meeting, but it might take 500 because you're just getting started. But hey, maybe next meeting is going to take you 400 cold calls. Next one, 300. Eventually, it's going to take you 20 cold calls to get a meeting. So on average, it's going to be about 100 calls for one meeting. But what's going to happen is that first couple of months, it's going to take you more calls, but towards the end, it's going to take you less than 100 calls. So on average, it's about 100 calls. But remember, you have a year. So it doesn't matter if in 4 months you don't sign your first client. It does not matter. You have 1 year. Give it time. You will succeed if you give it time and you're consistent. So scenario number 2. This is more of a realistic approach. So it's the same exact thing. However, it takes you 4 meetings to close a client. If you're cold calling, and if you're doing the meetings in person, this is for sure going to work. If you're doing it over Zoom, it might be 1 in 5, 1 in 6. But for me, for my clients, it took me 1 in 4 meetings to close them. Same thing, the goal, 10 grand in 12 months. Now it's 4 meetings to get a client. So 100 calls for 1 meeting, therefore 400 calls to get 1 client. So instead of 1,000 cold calls, it's now 400, less than half. Again, I need 7 clients, which means I need 2,800 cold calls. Same math, 250 working days in a year. 2,800 divided by 250 comes out to 12 cold calls per working day. Do you know how stupid easy this is? I mean, if you're doing 12 cold calls every day, you are lazy. You are not working on this business full time. So for you to be able to reach the goal with only 12 cold calls is absolutely insane. So cold calling is the best way. All you need is consistency and a good offer. Okay, the offer will help. But even if you have a dog shit offer, you will still be able to get clients. It's just going to take you more meetings, more cold calls. And imagine you're actually committed in this business and you're giving it your all to sign your first client, or to sign clients in a year, I mean. And let's say you do 100 cold calls a day, which is doable. It's not hard. How many clients do you think you'll be able to get? Look, here, I only need 28 to make 10 grand a month in a year. Imagine if you do 100. That's absolutely insane. I know cold calling sucks and you don't want to talk to people and you just want to work behind your computer, but this is how you'll get clients. All you need is a decent script, just a script explaining what you do. If you can offer a guarantee, even better, you're going to have a higher closing rate. It's going to be, this whole process will be so much easier. And you need to be consistent. Easy as that. Just commit yourself. Do this exactly. Do this math, okay? It doesn't have to be the same thing as me. You know, maybe you charge $1,000 for a client, or you charge 2,500 for a client. Change the numbers. Maybe it takes you more meetings, less meetings. Play with the numbers and come. I always do this with every objective I have. I always write down the numbers that I need. I need 28 calls per working day to reach the goal. So now in my head, I'm like, okay, every day, no matter what, I have to make at least 30 cold calls to reach my goal. And it's going to be a lot easier for you if you have the numbers mapped out. Because imagine you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to make 50 cold calls every day, knowing you need to make at least 30. But let's say on one day you don't really feel good and you make, 30 cold calls instead of 50. At least you know that I did the bare minimum to actually achieve my goal by the end of the year. Anything I do above 28 is just extra. It's just me being an extra hard worker and wanting to achieve my goal that much quicker. So best way to get clients for social media marketing, cold call. Find a script. There's a bunch of scripts you can find. Find a decent one. Work out the numbers. If you don't really know the numbers, stick to scenario number 1, okay? Give yourself the objective to make 28 cold calls every working day. And by year 1, you will make 10 grand a month. Simple as that. Have a good day and don't be lazy.